and technology. When I was a kindergarten teacher, first grade teacher, third grade teacher, we taught reading. That was our job, was to teach reading. But when you're a science teacher, you really focused on science, not so much teaching reading. But do we have 7th graders that need to learn how to read? Or better? Read better? Yes. So those are skills that have not been used so much. That's a whole new set of skills for teachers at that level. And an issue around professional development. More complex texts. So when students are given a reading assignment, they're going to go back, or a conversation or a research assignment, to go back into text and to find answers and ideas. The questions depend on the texts. Again, looking back at the written word. Writing focus on argument with evidence and emphasis on academic vocabulary. The other, I think, insight in terms of English language arts Common Core standards is the heavy dependence on language development. So you think about Arizona's student population, and you think about the challenge of learning a second language. How many of you have learned a second language? Yo hablo español. I know the difference between social language, because I can carry on a conversation in Spanish pretty well. But to get down here, to write and use language at that level is a very different level of language development. So now you think about Arizona's student population and the challenge that we have in the state. Mathematics. If you have not yet been in a 2nd grade classroom to watch a math delivery of a math lesson, you ought to do it. It is so different, it'll blow you away. It really will. Make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. Let me give you an example. Word problem. Math teacher says, let's model this word problem. Let's draw out who's going to do it and what they're going to do, and let's find a solution. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to go through this. And so a child goes through this modeling, and then when they get done, they think they have the answer. But you know what? There are probably 3 or 4 different ways to get the answer. I mean, 5 is made up of 3 plus 2, 1 plus 4, 5 plus 0. So the answer is no longer just a single answer, but it is a critical thinking approach to how do I get to the answer, using and integrating lots of different strategies. Reason abstractively, construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. Modeling with math, using appropriate tools strategically. No longer, very often, do you lay down a timed paper and say you have a minute to go through 100 math problems. Now it is, here's a problem. Can you use math, can you use multiplication, division, and addition to solve it? Because you got to know how to do it and integrate them strategically in finding your solution. Attend to precision, making use of structure, and looking for and expressing regularity and repeated reasoning. Once again, while this is a set of math standards, look at the language development that's embedded in that. So here's how it is for me. When I was teaching kindergarten, my standards were there at the top. A child needed to be able to count to 20, backwards from 10. No shapes, colors, and numbers. Those were my standards that I taught to. And by standards, I mean benchmarks. Look what they have to do now. And this is what my kindergarten grandson comes home and skip counts backwards and forwards. And then when you come down here, let's see, count forward from any given number, compose and decompose, put together and take apart numbers, and understand this in kindergarten. Can you imagine now what 1st grade laid on top of that is going to look like, and 2nd grade, and 3rd grade, and up to 6th grade? What's going to happen at the end of the day? English language arts. This is what we used to do in English language arts right here. Listen and respond to stories, begin to blend words, begin to construct simple sentences, but mostly revolving around words and letters and sounds. But look what they do today. Confirm understanding of written texts, read aloud or information presented orally through media by asking and answering questions about key details, creating and editing using technology, reading whole words and sentences. That a big difference in kindergarten. And so, if the classroom instruction is changing, so do the assessments. Now, in the back of your handout, can I grab this from you just for a second? Let me show you this assessment right here. This is a kindergarten assessment, okay? When I was a kindergarten teacher, here's what I would do. I would say, color the triangle green. Color the square red. And I would note that those kindergartners knew their colors and shapes. But if you look at the instruction on that right there, that's not what it says at all. It asks you to compare. It asks you to talk about it. How are they the same? How are they different? And then take the shapes and do something with them. Apply it. Make a picture. So this issue of applying learning is embedded in the content standards throughout, which is what we've been asking for a long time. Here's what they learn, now how do you apply it? So the classroom assessments have changed, and statewide assessments are in the process of change also. We hope. For ABEC, the policy issue is we have got to move away from the Ames test. The Ames test is in law right now. The word Ames is in the law. And now I will say that Ames stands for Arizona Instrument to Measure Standards. But the content of the Ames test measures the old low benchmark. So it is inappropriate test for Arizona right now as we make this transition. And our state legislature is struggling with this right now. Because the first assessment of Common Core is to be right around the corner, 2014-15. So what do you think the headline will look like when we have that first assessment? What do you suppose? Say it out loud, somebody.
Above average.
Above average? Below average in the beginning. Below average in the beginning, yeah. So that's the importance of you as community leaders understanding the transition that we're going through right now. That this is a transition from low standards to higher. It's going to take time to do it. It's going to take an effort on our communities, schools to do it, in an environment, a difficult funding environment. So that's the challenge for you all, is to understand this well enough that you can articulate that to your friends when you sit when that first headline comes out. This new assessment may replace Ames. If it doesn't replace Ames itself, the content of it has got to replace Ames. It will be phased in. You'll see the phase-in schedule in your handout. And it will be incorporated into student grades, hopefully, instead of a high-stakes test. It will be incorporated into student grades at the end of the year. So the whole issue of assessment is under change right now. So I am thrilled that I'm able to share this with you, because this, at the end of the day, has got huge benefits for this country, and has got huge benefits for our children. In terms of jobs, I just talked to Banner Health. Banner Health just had a job fair. They wanted to hire 1,200 new employees. You know how many they could hire? 800. 400 jobs left unfilled because they couldn't find candidates to fill them. We've got youngsters actually don't want to leave their home, their home communities. We've got youngsters that have family lives in Kingman, Arizona, and would like to stay there. But unless they've got the skills to be able to work remotely and be competitive with children from across this world and across this country, they're not going to be able to do it. So we've got jobs that need to be filled in Arizona directly related to economic development. High-paid jobs reflect high revenue in tax revenue, which actually then pays for the infrastructure we're talking about. So what we want to draw from is we want to draw high-paid jobs to this state. Economic development, right there, as we talked about that, and post-secondary education. Maricopa Community Colleges invest $80 million in remediation. Those are classes that kids take that get no credit whatsoever. That money, if we didn't have to spend it, could be redirected to all kinds of great things in our community college system. Our universities are remediating, and so that's money that can be redirected, and parents who are spending money on those classes would at least get credit out of it for their kids. So there's huge benefit to stay the course, but there are also implications. There are implications for your school districts, implications for parents and for your neighbors, as you hear them talk about this, implications for you, business and civic community, and so on. I'm here to ask you to think about what role you'll play. What you'll play in helping your school and your community be successful in this shift. Do you have any questions for me before I turn this over to the experts in our room? Any questions for Susan? Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate that your business and education, because it really goes together. So as far as business goes, there's the aspect of